In the years leading up to the party, Teyana and Aaron's connection became one of those rare bonds that form quietly beneath the surface. They had met through a mutual friend in the industry, a casual introduction that would come to define a significant chapter in both of their lives. Aaron had just landed his first big production credit, while Teyana was in the midst of reinventing herself after parting ways with a major label. Their first conversation wasn't about music or fame, it was about art, healing, and the search for meaning in a career that can often be isolating. Teyana was struck by how intently Aaron listened, not just hearing her, but absorbing every word. For Aaron, who had long been in rooms where he was either underestimated or overlooked, her attention was disarming. She asked about his dreams, not just his resume. She pushed him to think bigger, even as she was still nursing wounds from being underappreciated herself. Over time, they became inseparable. They worked on several songs together, but more importantly, they built trust. When Teyana faced anxiety before a major performance, it was Aaron who grounded her backstage. When Aaron received news of a family tragedy, it was Teyana who canceled a meeting just to sit with him in silence. They weren't in love in the traditional sense, but there was love, real, raw, and unconditional. Friends began to speculate, of course. The industry loves a rumor. But what Teyana and Aaron shared didn't need labels. "He's my piece," she once told a close friend. And in return, Aaron often said, "She reminds me of who I am when I forget." Teyana and Iman's relationship was iconic. They were goals, the artist and the athlete, the powerhouse couple that made parenthood look graceful and Black love look cinematic. From red carpets to reality TV, they were a brand in themselves, but also a genuine couple who loved each other deeply. Their daughter was the heartbeat of their home. Teyana would sing lullabies while Iman danced with her in the living room. When they were good, they were magnetic. But behind the scenes, they struggled with the same things so many couples do: time, attention, emotional bandwidth. As Teyana poured more into her career and Iman juggled life after the NBA, their connection frayed. Counseling helped, but sometimes love alone isn't enough to hold two people together. Their decision to separate was mutual but heartbreaking. They were careful to remain kind, especially in front of their daughter. But kindness doesn't erase pain. For Iman, watching Teyana move forward was a mix of pride and ache. He knew she deserved happiness, but part of him hoped he'd still be part of that picture. And as Aaron grew closer to her, Iman had to reckon with a new reality, one where he was no longer her go-to person. As the party approached, Teyana pulled out all the stops. She had a custom menu created based on Aaron's favorite dishes, Southern comfort food with vegan twists. A local jazz trio played during dinner, blending into a DJ set as the night picked up energy. She even curated a short visual montage, clips of Aaron over the years, interviews, behind-the-scenes footage, and personal messages from people he helped or inspired. The guests were carefully chosen. Not a press-heavy crowd, but a circle of people who genuinely knew and loved Aaron. Everyone noticed how Teyana moved through the room that night, confident, glowing, but also hyper-aware of every detail. She wasn't just the host, she was the heart of the room. Aaron arrived and was overwhelmed. The montage made him cry. The toasts made him laugh. And the way Teyana looked at him, it was clear this wasn't just a birthday party. It was a public declaration of how much he mattered. Outside, a man wrestled with feelings he couldn't quite name. He had come to the party intending to be supportive. He had rehearsed a speech in his head, something gracious, something mature. But the second he saw Aaron walk in, saw the way Teyana rushed to embrace him, something cracked. He stepped outside, trying to calm himself, but the memories came flooding in. He remembered throwing Teyana a surprise anniversary dinner years ago. He remembered her crying during their wedding vows. He remembered feeling like they had beaten the odds. Now, watching her celebrate someone else, someone who had clearly become her new constant, hurt more than he anticipated. He wasn't angry at Aaron. In fact, he respected him. He knew Aaron wasn't trying to replace him, and yet, the jealousy wasn't about possession. It was about history, about the life he used to have, about the sound of Teyana's laughter that no longer belonged to him. As he sat on a bench, tears rolled down silently. He didn't sob. He didn't make a scene. But his heart broke in a quiet, personal way, the kind that stays with you long after the night is over. Later that night, as guests began to leave, Teyana stepped out and found Iman still seated, now just looking at the sky. She sat beside him, no words for a while. Finally, she said, "I didn't want tonight to hurt you." He looked over. "It's not you. It's me trying to accept what I already knew." They didn't argue. They didn't rehash the past. Instead, they shared a moment of peace. Two people who had loved and lost, but still held space for each other. Aaron eventually came out too. The three of them stood together in the cool night air, quiet but not awkward. There was no triangle. Just history, present, and future, all standing shoulder to shoulder. The next day, social media buzzed with photos from the party. Clips of Teyana and Aaron hugging. Snippets of speeches. But what the public didn't see was the text Iman sent her at 7:43 a.m. "You're doing amazing. He's lucky to have you in his life, and I'll always be rooting for you." Teyana didn't reply immediately. When she did, hours later, it was simple. "We all deserve someone who brings us peace. Thank you for always wishing me mine." 3 months after the party, the emotional waves from that night still lingered. But time, as always, began to soften the sharp edges. Teyana and Aaron continued working together, now more in sync than ever. They launched a short film project inspired by their experiences, part musical, part documentary, part love letter to growth and self-discovery. Fans loved it, critics praised it, but more importantly, it was healing for them both. In an interview, Aaron finally addressed their dynamic. "We're not rushing to define anything. What we have, it's real. That's all that matters." Teyana, in a separate interview, echoed that sentiment. "I've had love in many forms, romantic, artistic, spiritual. What Aaron and I have is everything. It's not about labels, it's about feeling safe." As for Iman, he took time for himself. He started therapy, spent more quality time with their daughter, and began writing a memoir. Not about basketball, but about fatherhood, faith, and learning to let go. In one heartfelt chapter, he wrote, "Real love sometimes means cheering from the sidelines. It means watching someone grow without needing to be the soil they grow in." He and Teyana remained friends, not always close, but always respectful. Occasionally, they'd text, a picture of their daughter, a link to a song that reminded them of better days. Clips from the party had leaked online. Fans dissected every glance, every hug. Theories flew around. Are Teyana and Aaron together? Was Iman crying over her? Is there drama? But those closest to them stayed silent, refusing to reduce real emotions into headlines. Eventually, even fans started shifting their tone. The story stopped being about gossip and became about something more meaningful: how people evolve. In the end, this story wasn't about a party. It was about humanity, about how love can shift forms without losing its value, about the courage it takes to show up for someone, even when your heart is breaking, and about the power of chosen family, of friendships that heal rather than complicate. For Teyana, the night was a turning point, a moment where her past and future collided and didn't explode, but folded gently into each other. For Aaron, it was affirmation, that he wasn't just appreciated for his talent, but loved for who he was. For Iman, it was closure, not the end of love, but the beginning of peace. And for the rest of us, it was a reminder that no matter how painful, growth is always beautiful.